Jyotimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chaksurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaya Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tad-bhaktaya Namo Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Mano Bhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam. Hare Krishna, Radhe Radhe. So, this will be a brief class. I wanted to record something in honor of Srimad Bhagavad-gītā. Today is Mokshada Ekadashi and Gita Jayanti. So, in honor of the day that the Bhagavad-gītā was spoken, I wanted to just briefly even touch it, very briefly, and speak just a few words about the Bhagavad-gītā. We've said so much about it before. Srila Gurudev has spoken so much about it, and Srila Prabhupada has spoken so much, given so many lectures on the Bhagavad-gītā. It's generally understood as a more introductory text, actually. And Srila Gurudev, he would say that the Bhagavad-gītā brings one up to the stage of surrender, sharanagati, which he would describe as the doorway of bhakti, meaning that the limbs of sharanagati in and of themselves are not bhakti, but they are the doorway that by practicing and accepting those limbs of surrender, we can begin to practice bhakti. So, what is surrender? What is sharanagati? Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he describes anukulyasya sankalpa pratikulyasya varjanam rakshishya titi vishvaso gotitve varanam tata atma nikshepa karpanye sadvidha sharanagati. That anukulyasya sankalpa, we take a sankalpa, a vow, to accept only that which is favorable for bhakti. This whole verse in itself is a very deep subject. We can go over it at another time. So, what is favorable for bhakti? So many things. Performing the limbs of bhakti, good association. And pratikulyasya varjanam, that whatever is pratikul or unfavorable, we very strongly give that up. So many things are unfavorable for bhakti, namely bad association and so many other unwanted things like intoxication, meat eating, illicit sex, so many things. Aparad, So many anarthas are there. And rakshishyatiti vishvaso. Vishwas, a very firm faith, very firm determination that rakshishyatiti. Raksha means like protector, like a protecting. And so the third limb of surrender is to accept the Lord as our protector, our only protector, that we cannot protect ourselves and nobody in this world can protect us from death and from danger and so many things, so many unwanted things, so much fear and so much anxiety. Only Krishna can help us. Only Krishna can save us from this terrible condition. And so we completely give up all of our own will and idea that we can protect ourselves, that anyone else in this world can protect us. And we accept the shelter of Krishna and develop that very strong faith and understanding that in whatever circumstance I am, no matter how much danger I'm in, Krishna will protect me. And I have nothing to worry about. I have no need to endeavor so strongly to protect myself and seek protection. And so the fourth limb is goptitve varanam tata. Srila Jiva Goswami, Srila Gurudev describes, is saying that this is the main limb of the limbs of Sharanagati. Goptitve varanam tata, accepting the Lord as our only maintainer. Knowing that Krishna will maintain us. There's so many stories about this. And not putting it into our own hands, that I have to maintain myself and I am going to maintain myself by my own power. This is like an obstacle to our devotional service. If we will try to maintain ourselves and think that we are the doer of all these things, then we will lose so much of our time in engaging in so many activities that may be unfavorable for our bhakti, and that may make it more difficult for us to constantly remember Krishna. And one pointedly. So by accepting the Lord as our maintainer, we can fully absorb our minds and all of our senses in focusing solely on Krishna consciousness and not in thinking about so many material things and how to perform our jobs and so many other things. So this is one limb. And Atma-nikshepa, completely offering one's soul to Krishna. One's complete self, that I am no longer mine. I have no more independence. I am yours, Krishna. I am yours, please. I am your eternal servant. Please engage me in your service. I am no longer desiring my own happiness or have any of my own desires. I only desire your happiness. And I want to engage my full body, mind, and senses and activities and moods in serving you completely. And then finally, the last limb is karpanye, or humility. we come to that point in this material world where we are completely materially exhausted, trying to be eternally happy with all of this temporary happiness in this world, and then we give up and throw our hands up and say, "Hey Govinda, I surrender. Please, I am so insignificant and fallen. Please bestow your mercy upon me and deliver me from this ocean and engage me in your service. I am giving up all of my own. I am completely powerless. I have no power. I have no intelligence. I have no results of pious activities. I have no good habits or anything. I am completely helpless. So please, oh Krishna, please save me and make me happy forever by making me drink the nectar of service to your lotus feet." So if we cannot come to this stage and follow all of these limbs, then we cannot even begin practicing bhakti, because we cannot begin to fully enter the reality of the soul and give up all of our material conceptions and activities, because bhakti is transcendental. Bhakti is performed in the transcendental position with our spiritual form. Right? Srila Gurudev, he would say that I think we have not even begun bhakti. We're not even doing sadhana. We're not even practicing. He would say practicing is like, coming to the stage of like the Goswamis and beginning to have that Shuddha Sattva and Ruchi and Ashakti coming for the holy name and all these things, and practicing this Raganuga bhakti. Having some realization of our eternal sarup, our eternal form in the spiritual world, and serving Him there. And so this is really, right, love and bhakti. The bhakti that we're performing now is like a semblance of bhakti. And we are doing something, but it is not full bhakti. It is not complete. Gurudev said that only to the stage of prem and past that especially, this is, real bhakti. Everything else is like kind of a part of that full uttama bhakti. And Gurudev would describe even further that really this uttama bhakti, this topmost bhakti, fully complete bhakti, is only present in Srimati Radhika, where she's completely has no other desire than her desire to please Krishna. Even the queens of Dwarka have some selfish desire there and cannot give up everything. And can serve Him completely favorably. Srimati Radhika and the gopis, they're serving Krishna in a way that is most favorable to Him for His happiness. So until we come to that platform, we should know that our bhakti is incomplete. And that Krishna is only served by, right, spiritual senses. And so by surrendering ourselves, giving up all of our own material conceptions and ideas. We surrender and only accept those things which are favorable, give up all those things which are unfavorable, and begin to orient ourselves, completely give up all idea of maintaining ourselves and protecting ourselves and making so many material arrangements in this material world. We take our Atma, our soul, and we offer it at the lotus feet of Guru, completely follow what he says, and with humility carry out his orders and instructions. And what are his orders and instructions? What are the orders and instructions of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Right? Hare Nam, Hare Nam, Hare Nam eva kevalam, kalo nasti eva nasti eva nasti, eva gatir anyata. Cheto darpanam arjanam, bhava maha davagni nirvapanam, shreya kairava chandrika vitaranam, vidya varu jivanam. Anandam buddhi vardhanam pratipadam purnamrita swadanam sarvatma snapanam param vijayate Sri Krishna sankirtanam. That you should continuously, day and night, without stopping, you should chant this holy name of Krishna. Tan nama rupa charitari sukirtananu smrityo kramena rasana manasi niyoja tishtan braje taranuragi jan anugami kalam naid akilam ityupadesha saram. Rupa Goswami is giving the essence of all the teachings of Mahaprabhu in one sloka. What is that? That 24 hours a day, we should be very, very nicely hearing and chanting about the name, form, qualities, and pastimes of Krishna. And while residing in Braj, under the guidance of the Anurag, those devotees who are following the footsteps of those eternally perfected souls in the spiritual world, the Ragatmika devotees, following in their footsteps, following their moods of devotion, we serve and we hear and we chant, completely absorbing our minds and bodies in devotional service. Right? When Mahaprabhu heard about how the Goswamis were performing their bhajan, he was so happy. Gita would talk about this, and the Chaitanya Charitamrita is described that they would hardly even sleep, maybe 1 hour, maybe not at all. They were hardly even eating, maybe but a few dry chickpeas and some dry chapatis, maybe not even that sometimes. That they were spending all of their time hearing and chanting and speaking Harikatha and writing so many devotional literatures. And there's so many more verses of how they were performing their devotional service. And Gurudev said they gave up their temples. They gave it to the Brahmanas and they went to the bank of the Yamuna River and, right, Sankhya Purvaka Namagana Natibika. I forgot. Sankhya Purvaka Namagana Natibika Lavasani Krito Nidrahara Viharakari Vijito Chatyanta Dino Chayo Radha Krishna Gunasmiter Madhurima Nandena Samohito Vande Rupa Sanatana Raghuyugo Shri Jiva Gopalako Vande Rupa Sanatana Raghuyugo Shri Jiva Gopalako He Radhe Braja Devi Ke Chalalite He Nanda Suno Kuta Shri Govardhana Kalpa Pada Patale Goshanda. Like this. Gurudev would say that Srila Prabhupada, he would recite these verses of the Goswami Astakam with tears in his eyes, weeping so bitterly, realizing these extremely, extremely high and extremely deep moods of love that the Goswamis of Vrindavan were experiencing in their ecstatic devotional service to the Supreme Lord. And so Gurudev would say we should be like them. They gave up their very high positions in the government, making so much wealth. They gave up all their wealth and wearing worn and torn cloth by chanting a fixed number of rounds. Gurudev would say, how many? 64, more than that. Or, so many rounds. Always hearing, always chanting, always speaking Harikatha. They completely overcame overeating and oversleeping and being constantly immersed in the sweetness of the nectar of the love of Radha and Krishna and their pastimes. With great humility, they would pass their time like this. They weren't going to a job and trying to maintain themselves and raising children and doing so many things. They gave all these things up and simply were hearing and chanting so much. Gurudev would give so many stories of this. How Srimati Radhika herself was coming and cooking for Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami. And how Raghunath Das Goswami was doing bhajan. He would drink maybe like 1 cup of buttermilk a day that someone would bring him. Living very austerely, right? We have so many urges. We cannot control our tongue and we desire so many nice foodstuffs. Gurudev would say that we need so much facility to live. We need a very, very nice house with all facilities that at the touch of a button, your kitchen can come and your bathroom can come and your car can start, and right? And you need very nice clothes and you need your own bathroom and you need heating and cooling and so many things. And what do we have to work so hard to maintain all of these things. And so he said, really, you should try to make it to India. He said, India is Sadhan Bhumi, the place where you can perform spiritual practice. But the West is just Bhoga Bhumi, he said, the place of sense enjoyment, where you cannot go anywhere without a car. Right? We need so much money and so many things. So it's more difficult. In the West, because in India, you don't have to think about having a home, you don't have to think about food, you can just go to a temple, take prasadam for free. You don't have to worry about clothes, wearing any clothes. You simply can just hear, chant, and remember like the Goswamis did. In the West, it's different. We need to do so many things. So maybe in our next birth, we may be so fortunate. But this is bhajan. This is real sadhana bhakti. This is real bhakti. So if we want to get to that stage, we have to give up everything. And we have to follow like how Mahaprabhu is telling us, like how the Goswamis are telling us, and we follow in their footsteps. And then we can really go from sadhana bhakti to bhava bhakti. Right? There's sadhana bhakti, the stage of practice. There's bhava bhakti, the stage of transcendental emotion, where you're beginning to awaken your spiritual form and deep moods of love for Krishna in whatever fixed emotion you are in, whether it's a friend or a parent or beloved of Krishna. And then there's full prema bhakti, and beyond that. These are the stages. And there's so many symptoms of all these stages, which we will not get into now. But this is our goal. Our goal is Krishna Prem. It is not to be stuck on one stage forever, the stage of practice. We must develop. And we must, by taking higher association, we must understand what are the symptoms and what is the process to attain those higher stages. So we hear from Srila Gurudev in all of his books. If we read his books, we can begin to understand how we can approach that, our goal. What is the nature of our goal? What is the nature of the process to achieve that? What will we have to give up in order to achieve that? Gurudev said this thing is so valuable. Krishna Prem is the most valuable thing that there is in existence, that anyone could ever attain. This is the highest objective in human life. And you think that you can very easily attain it. It is not easy. He said bhakti is not easy. Before, Gurudev was saying bhakti is very easy. But later he says bhakti is very, very, very difficult. Very, very hard. He said you will have to give up everything to achieve bhakti. We see the gopis in Vrindavan, they gave up everything. Their mothers, their fathers, their husbands, their children, their friends, their social position, what society will think, everything. Everything. And still Krishna left them. And still they loved Krishna with all their hearts. Such is the nature of love. And they became like street beggars, Srimati Radhika is saying in the Srimad Bhagavatam. We became like birds, wandering here and there without a home, simply weeping in separation from Krishna, eating very, very little, like as if they were about to die, simply thinking about Krishna with every part of their being. So, this is love. Not that we are thinking about so many other things. So this brings me to what Srila Gurudev would say is the essence of the Bhagavad-gītā. We have this little book by Srila Gurudev, the essence of the Bhagavad-gītā. Very, very nice little book. Recommend getting it. There is a link. I'll put a link in the description. You can order it online somewhere. I'll put the PDF in the description. And so many people, they think that the very last instruction of Krishna, this is the essence of the Gita. Right? What is it? Sarva dharmam parityajya mam ekam sharanam vraja. Aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishami ma shucha. Oh Arjuna, really just give up everything, give up all dharma, all religion, material forms of religion, all other kinds of processes, and just surrender unto me. Just come to me. Any kind of sinful reactions that you think you may get for doing that, don't worry about it, have no fear, I will relieve you from all those. Just the whole point of life is to come back to me. Forget all this material stuff. Just realize your spiritual form and let's hang out in the spiritual world forever. Just give up everything in this world. And many people think that this is the essence. But Srila Gurudev, he would say that the verse before that is actually more of the essence of the Gita. What is that? Man-manā bhava mad-bhakto mad-yājī mam namaskuru mam evaiṣyasi satyaṁ te pratijāne priyo. O Arjuna, man-manā bhava. Mana mind, always think of man, always think of me. Man-manā bhava. Always think of me. Mad-bhakto, become my devotee. Mad, my, bhakta, devotee. Become my devotee. Mad-yājī, yājī, worship me. Perform worship of me. Namaskuru, offer your obeisances to me. By doing all these things, certainly you will attain me. And you can trust me because I am your very dear friend. I'm telling you the truth. And this is like a progression, Gurudev would say, that the highest instruction out of all of these instructions is to always think of me. Then if you can't do that, always, become my devotee, do the limbs of bhakti, do satyaṁ bhakti, try to worship me like this, do the devotional service, shravanam, kirtanam, vishnu smaranam, archanam, vandanam, sakyam, dasyam, atma-nivedanam, the 9 prominent limbs, and then the 5 more prominent limbs, which is all these are another class. If you can't do that, then at least just worship me. Do my arti once or twice a day, offer me a ghee lamp or some incense or something like that. Gurudev was saying that Arjuna couldn't even do this because he was on the battlefield. He can't always think of Krishna because he's busy fighting in this world, doing so many things, so he can't do that. That's way out of the question. He has to think about killing people and so many other things. He can't even do the limbs of bhakti because still he's so busy fighting. He can't even offer a ghee lamp to Krishna because he has to focus on his archery and so many things. He can't even do that. So, mam namaskuru, offer your obeisances to me. And Gurudev said Arjuna couldn't even do this. So Krishna said, just do this. Just put your hands together and do like this. Like, Hari Bol. Hare Krishna. Like, at the very least, try to do that. And so he gave that progression. And so what is the essence? What is the highest instruction in the Gita is man-manā bhava. Always think of me. Always think of me. And there's a verse by Srila Rupa Goswami in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu where he says, Smartavya satyaṁ vishnurd vismartavya na jatu chit sarve vidhi nishedasyur etayor eva kinkari. One should smartavya satyaṁ vishnurd, satata, always, vishnurd, Krishna, smartavya, smaranam, he should always remember Krishna. Smartavya satyaṁ vishnurd, constantly. And vismartavya na jatitit. Na jatitit means for even a moment. Vismartavya means he should not forget Krishna for even one moment. So you should always think about Krishna. This is the positive. And you should never forget him. This is the negative prohibition to avoid doing. And that's the positive rule to follow. The rule and the regulation. And it's saying, Sarve vidhi nisedhasyur. That all of the sarva vidhi, the vidhi means rules. Sarva, all of the vidhi rules, the purpose of all of those rules is to serve these 2 functions. Etayod eva kinkari. All the rules of all the scriptures in existence, all the Vedas, all the Upanishads, all the Puranas, Ramayana, Mahabharata, Bhagavad-gītā, Bhagavatam, all the books of all of our acharyas, Bhagavad-gītā, everything, the purpose of all of those rules and regulations described in these books is to serve these 2 principles. Always remember Krishna and never forget Krishna. Right? So, man-manā bhava. Always think of me. So we don't do so many things so that we can never forget Krishna, And we do so many things so that we can always remember Him. We come to Arti, we chant a certain amount of holy names, we worship the deity in so many ways, we offer so many foodstuffs, we come to class, we hear Harikatha, we serve the devotees, and we publish books, and we distribute books, and we, do kirtan, and so many things. All so that we can always remember Krishna. And then we avoid so many things like bad association and doing drugs and, letting our senses go here and there, so that we can never forget Krishna. And we can keep our minds fixed on Krishna. So, that is the most important thing. Because that is why we always, Prabhupada would say, that is why we always chant the holy name. Because if you're constantly 24/7 chanting, then you have no choice but to remember Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram. Right? And then very easily, if we're chanting, we can remember Krishna constantly. But if we're not chanting, it's possible we can talk about mundane things, bogus things. It's possible our mind can wander to think about mundane things, bogus things. This is why Hare Nam, Hare Nam, Hare Nam Eva Kevalam. There's no other way than by chanting the holy name, by speaking Harikatha. Otherwise, we cannot always remember Krishna. Krishna says in the Bhagavad-gītā that whatever you will meditate on, if you will meditate on the objects of the senses, then you will develop attachment to that. And gradually lust will develop, anger will develop, your intelligence will be lost, you'll become completely illusioned, and you'll fall down very, very deep into this material existence. So we have to be very careful what we think about. The mind is the master of all of the senses. So if we can control the mind, man-manā samadhukaram arpaya nijapada pankaja makarande Krishna deva bhavandam vande. Krishna deva bhavandam vande. Krishna deva bhavandam vande. May my mind like a bee become offered at your feet, which are two lotuses of nectar. That's the English song that they made about that, but basically, may my mind always be absorbed in the drinking the nectar of your lotus feet and service of your lotus feet. Such a beautiful psalm by Rupa Goswami. Ayam avilodhata yadya sanatana kalitadbhuta rasabharam nivasatu nityami hamrita nindini vindan madhurimasadam. Nivasatu nityami hamrita nindini vindan madhurimasadam. Krishna deva bhavantam vande. Oh Krishna, I'm offering you this prayer that may I always be absorbed in service to your lotus feet, and by tasting that nectar, all other things will become completely insignificant to that highest transcendental bliss. So if we're not being careful to always remember Krishna, then we can think about other things, and it may be at the time of death that we will not remember Krishna, because death can come at any moment. And if you're thinking about anything else but Krishna at the time of death, you cannot go back to Him. You have to be fully, completely absorbed. And so Srila Gurudev would give this example of what does it mean to be man-manā bhava. I'll very briefly tell the story and I'll finish. That one very newly married gopi came to Vrindavan. I'm telling the story very briefly. There's many details that I'll probably leave out. And she had heard about Krishna, the very beautiful form of Krishna, the beauty of Krishna, the qualities of Krishna, his very sweet pastimes, and flute playing, and cow herding, everything. And she wanted to see Krishna as he was going out to graze the cows in the morning. But her mother-in-law and her family members, they said, no, you can't see Krishna. You must stay here. You're not allowed to go see Krishna. There's a black snake out there, and if he bites you, you will be poisoned and you'll be finished forever. And she said, well, how come you're going and everyone else is going? How come only I cannot see Krishna? And she couldn't answer, and she left. Said, you have to stay here. So anyhow, that newly married gopi had gone to the door, and she had a very strong desire to see Krishna. And she had opened the door a little bit and was peeking out to see if Krishna, as he was traveling down to go graze the cows. He was very beautifully playing on his flute with his peacock feather. And all the cowherd boys and all the cows. And Krishna knew of this gopi, had this desire. And so he took one calf and grabbed its tail and pulled on it, that the calf got excited and turned and ran exactly to where that gopi was, right to her door. And Krishna, he went to go retrieve the calf and bring it back into the herd. And by doing this, he came right up to the door of that gopi and saw that gopi, and Gita would say, touched her chin or, her head or anywhere. He said he picked up her chin with his flute, and she saw the beauty of Krishna and the sweetness of Krishna and everything, and she became completely enchanted. She didn't even know, she had completely lost her mind. Krishna had left to go back to the herd and continue to go graze the cows. And she was just there completely dumbfounded. Krishna had completely stolen her heart and her mind. Her mind was no longer with her. Her heart was no longer there. She was only thinking about where Krishna was going and what he was doing. Completely absorbed in thinking about Krishna. And anyhow, her mother-in-law came back and said, what has happened? What are you doing? Wake up. Why are you just standing there? It must be that this black serpent has bitten you and the poison has gone to your head. Okay, we have to snap you out of it. You should take this milk, take this yogurt and churn some butter. And so the gopi, she was still completely unaware. She had completely lost her mind and senses and everything. She was only thinking about Krishna. She wasn't even aware of her body anymore. She was just, her mind had gone with Krishna, wherever Krishna was going, thinking about him completely. And so she started churning a pot, and it was actually that pot was full of mustard seeds. She had not realized this. And so her mother-in-law came and said, what are you doing? This isn't yogurt, you're churning mustard seeds. This is pointless, making such a loud sound. And so she thought, okay, here, take this baby, take these pots, and you should go collect water and bring water back from the well. So she stacked all these pots, trying to take her mind away from Krishna and bring it back to reality. So this lady, this gopi, she was going to the well and completely, again, still her mind was completely gone. She had gone to the well and she put the pots down, and instead of tying up the pots and lowering the pots into the well to get water, she began in her bewildered state tying the rope around the baby's neck and beginning to lower the baby into the well. And so many gopis who were also there saw this and became very alarmed and took the baby and stopped her from doing this. And they said, oh, it must be that she's possessed by some ghost, some bhuta, or a ghost. And one intelligent gopi said, no, no, no. I think she has been possessed by Nanda Putra, not Bhuta, but Putra, the son of Nanda Maharaj, Krishna himself. He has completely captured her mind and her heart. And so this is the essence of the Bhagavad-gītā. That we should be so absorbed in thinking about Krishna like the gopis that we have no more awareness of anything in this world, that we are completely mad, and every last bit of our energy, if we are not meeting with Krishna, right? Like right now in this world, we are not seeing Krishna, right? The gopis, they were separated from Krishna because Krishna is their beloved. Krishna is their paramour. And so they do not have any facility in public and with the support of all of their family members or anyone to go and meet with Krishna, right? So just like a paramour lover, they may be performing all their duties, but they are always thinking about their beloved. When can I meet my beloved? When can I meet my beloved? And so we have to accept Krishna as our beloved. Gita would say, you should try to think of Krishna as your beloved. And we have to think, how can I meet with Krishna? How can I meet with Krishna? When can I meet with Krishna? Right? Because right now we are separated from Him. We have no realization of our spiritual form. We have no even desire to serve and love Krishna. We're completely absorbed. We have more faith in money, Gurudev said. All we want to do is collect money in this world, and we're just thinking money, 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 money. Day and night we wake up, we think about money, 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 money. And he said, I think that at the time of death you will become money if you are thinking like this. So instead we should try to think of Krishna, and especially His associates who are serving Him in a very specific mood, like either the friends of Krishna or the parents or elderly gopis and gopas of Krishna, or maybe the gopis of Krishna, especially the maidservants of Srimati Radhika. If we are absorbed in them and thinking about how they are serving Krishna and desiring their moods of love in our hearts, then a drop of that can come and we can have some realization of transcendental service to Krishna in that mood. And then we can realize our spiritual form. And that is eternal. That bhakti and that love is eternal. That service is eternal. It will never go away. In this world, we may have a wife, we may have a husband, we may have a lover or beloved. But that must end. They will leave you. They will die. You will die. Everything will go away. The world will be destroyed. And we will have to start again from scratch. And we will be born again. And we will have to suffer so much and find some other lover or beloved, or have to go through so much pain and suffering for just a momentary flick of happiness. And that love is not pure, so it cannot fully satisfy us. But if we can always think of Krishna by developing that love for him, then we can engage in his eternal service and taste the nectar of his lotus feet, service to his lotus feet, which puts all other kinds of happiness, which pales and, makes all other kinds of happiness pale in comparison to that. Right? In this world, we take so many drugs and so many other things to be happy. But after tasting the bliss of devotional service, Yamunacharya says, I spit at the thought of sex life, which is, in this world, Prabhupada would say, the highest kind of material happiness. So, we have to know our goal and try to surrender. Like Krishna says, we try to surrender, and under the guidance of high-class, rasik devotees who are tasting these very, very high mellows of love for God, love for Krishna, we hear, chant, and remember, and pray that we can come to the platform of bhava bhakti, develop in our bhakti to that platform, ultimately to the platform of prema bhakti, which cannot be experienced in a material body. At that point, we will have to realize our spiritual form. And then we will, once we achieve the spiritual world, we will never again return. Like Krishna says in the Gita, one who attains my abode will never again come to this world. And so, this is the promise of Krishna. We should have so much faith in his promise and his words. They're all completely true. He loves us so much. He just wants us to come back to him. And so we pray for his mercy that we can have the association of such a devotee and guru in our lives, that we can gradually advance. Gurudev said you should try to be a pure devotee. And so we should try. And at least know with our intelligence that there's no other way to be happy. And develop so much faith in the words of Krishna. Read the Bhagavad-gītā. Read the purports. And not only hear them, but take them into our hearts. And follow them. So many nice instructions in here given by Krishna and our acharyas. And if we can surrender ourselves to them and follow them, right? Premananda Prabhu, he says, Rasikananda Maharaj would always tell this, that it is very good to hear Harikatha, but better than hearing Harikatha is putting it into your heart and following it. There's these different stages. There's Shravanadash, the stage of hearing, but then there's the next stage, Varanadash, the stage of acceptance, accepting what you're hearing. And then a few higher stages there of transcendental emotion, and ultimately, again, serving Krishna in your transcendental form. So, I'll stop here. Gora Premanande Hari Hari Bol. One last thing that I'll say is Gurudev would always talk about one story in the Chaitanya Charitamrita where Mahaprabhu, he went to South India and he saw one devotee reading the Bhagavad-gītā. But that devotee, he was actually blind, this brahmana. And he was taking the Bhagavad-gītā And he was reading it upside down. And he was reading it, and he was weeping and weeping and weeping and weeping. So much. And there were other people there watching him, making fun of him, saying, "Oh, why are you weeping? You cannot even read. You are illiterate. What are you doing reading the Bhagavad-gītā and weeping? You have no idea." And they were laughing and joking and making fun of him. But Mahaprabhu saw him and thought, who is this? Why is this man weeping, reading Bhagavad-gītā? I must inquire from him. And Mahaprabhu himself went up to him and said, "Oh, Prabhu, I see that you are reading Bhagavad-gītā and weeping. Can you explain to me why are you weeping like so?" And the man said, "Oh, I was instructed by my Gurudev to read Bhagavad-gītā every day. And so, although I am illiterate and blind, and I cannot read, I take the Bhagavad-gītā and I open it up, and immediately I remember Krishna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, on the chariot of Arjuna, in the midst of the two armies on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, and how Krishna is explaining so many very, very deep and beautiful teachings to Arjuna to try and help him come out of his doubt and his confusion and his very difficult situation that he's in. With so much love and affection and compassion, Krishna is helping his very dear friend, Arjuna, with so much love. And that when I think about this, I begin to weep at the mercy of Krishna, how loving he is like this. And Mahaprabhu, he also began to weep. And he said, yes, this is the correct way to read Bhagavad-gītā. That we should realize the love and the mercy of Krishna, our relationship, our eternal loving relationship with Krishna, and understand that Krishna has so much love for us that he is coming to this world and trying to help us, and sending his devotees here and there also to speak his instructions, that just come to me, so that we can love each other forever. And give up everything, and always think of me, and always serve me. But it is our misfortune that we are not hearing, and we are not following that. But again and again and again and again, Krishna comes and continues to speak these teachings of Bhagavad-gītā and the truth about the soul and God, so that he can save us from this very, very difficult situation of material existence that we are bounded by. And so we meditate on the causeless mercy of the Supreme Lord, and pray for his mercy that we can develop some taste, at least, for hearing about him and following his instructions and the instructions of his devotees. Right? When the end of the Bhagavad-gītā, what does Krishna say? He says that no one is more dear to me than that person who distributes this message of the Bhagavad-gītā and the teachings that are contained within the Bhagavad-gītā. These are the last words that Krishna says in the Gita. Right? So if we want to serve Krishna and be Krishna's very near and dear devotee, no one is more dear to him than that person who is preaching all of these teachings, all of his teachings, and distributing His glories and the glories of devotional service all over the world. So we pray for His mercy that we can practice all these things in our own lives, and also help others come to an understanding of all these things. Hare Krishna, Radhe Radhe, Gaura Premanande, Hari Hari Bo.